uploading our meeting onto the web is in part due to his emphasis and push. It started off with him just simply videographing his own icebreaker. So on this night of icebreaker speeches, it's only natural that we have as our Toastmaster, our Vice President of Education, Frank Brammer.
Thank you, Valentine Toastmasters, and welcome to Icebreaker Night. This is the first time in the few years that I've been a part of Valentine Toastmasters that we've had 3 icebreakers on the same night. Now, all Toastmasters know that an icebreaker is that pivotal speech that we all get to give to start off our speaking career. Whether we're going to just be amateurs or pros, we're going to compete just our CC, or we're going to go on and be a professional speaker. This is where it starts for everyone. It is the most crucial speech. It sets the baseline for all of us to set up where we're going in our Toastmasters growth. Well, helping me get your speaking career going tonight are 3 key roles that help all of us become better speakers. Helping me this evening as our grammarian is David Nottingham.
Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, my role is the grammarian tonight, so in that role I have 2 things that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be acquainting you with our word of the day of acquaint. That is the first thing there, and I just got one for myself, so I'll put this back here. So acquaint is to make more or less familiar with, although more or less familiar, I guess. It just seems like a weird definition. To furnish with knowledge, inform, to bring in the social context. So I thought this would be a great word for us to use tonight and become more acquainted with as the night goes on, since it's about Toastmasters and icebreakers. I will also be looking for the verbal gaffes. That's why my finger was back here, because I got myself with one ah, and I'll count 2 now on there. So ahs, ums, verbal pauses, all those things that we do that we are not necessarily conscious of, so that we can become more conscious of them and overcome them. I'll also be looking for great phrases, good word use, maybe humorous word uses, and good phrases. So let's be acquainted with good verbal techniques tonight, and that's it, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you. Another critical skill we all need to develop in our speaking skill is managing time. Time flies when you're up here at the lectern, and learning how to understand where these key points in your presentation are coming is a great skill to develop. Helping us develop in our timing method this evening is Tree Ted.
Evening, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, and honored guests. It's my role implied. I'm keeping time. Today we got 3 repair speech, 3 icebreaker speech, which can last between 4 to 6 minutes. The green light in the back will start to lit at 4 minutes. 5 minutes, the yellow light will come on, and at 6 minutes, the red light will come on. We got 30 seconds before 4 minutes, or 30 seconds after 6 minutes to qualify for the vote. After the repair speech, we move to the table topic speeches. That's supposed to last between 1 to 2 minutes, and you get 30 seconds in either way, in order to get qualified for the vote. And lastly, we got 3 evaluation speech, which is supposed to last between 2 to 3 minutes. Once again, can be qualified between 1 minute and 30 seconds and 3 minutes and 30 seconds. And I'm going to report the timer to the general evaluator near the end of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Trish. one other thing we like to do in Valentine Toastmasters, a little friendly competition, certainly amongst the prepared speakers doing their icebreakers, but also amongst the table topic speakers and even the evaluators. And helping us determine who the best speakers in these categories is our ballot counter. Tonight is Kim Montijo.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Welcome, our guests who are in for a treat this evening. Tonight, my role will be to collect your votes. Everyone will give their speech, and you'll be given time to cast your vote. And as long as they qualify, so we will know who that is, and you can cast your vote. Then I ask that you put them in the red cup and pass it down, and I'll be sitting over there by Jose. If you could pass it my way, I will tally up those votes and then bring them to you to announce the winners. So at this time, if you could take the sheet that should be in front of you with the agenda and rip it apart so we can get that noise out of the way, and we'll continue the meeting. Thank you.
Okay, I know you guys are ready. I'm excited. And the last thing you want to do is hear me do a lot of talking about what you're going to be doing this evening. But I want to give you icebreakers, or before you giving your icebreaker, some helpful hints. Some to help you get up here, and I think hopefully this will help all of our members and guests. There are many things to be concerned with when you're giving a presentation, but these are some of the most important ones that I've developed. It is my knowledge walk through Toastmasters and the things I've garnered from Toastmasters magazine, which is one of our greatest resources. Probably the most important thing any speaker can do is breathe. Seriously, stress is that thing that will just tighten you up. And it tends to tighten up your diaphragm, which weakens your voice. It causes all kinds of other problems. So breathing is very important. And the way to start, when you come up here to the lectern, take that first breath. Look out to your audience. The timer doesn't start until you start your presentation. So take the lectern and then start your presentation. Just relax. Yeah, zen, just relax. The other thing, I understand how the nerves develop. I remember my first speech, my icebreaker. And I had this idea about being analyzed and judged, and I'm going to be critiqued in this. But that's not what's really going on here. Think about it this way. You understand, every you hear about a pro athlete saying how nervous they are before a big game. Well, they're nervous because they're about to perform in front of tens of thousands of people, maybe hundreds of thousands on the television. But on Tuesday afternoon or Thursday evening, when they're practicing with their own team on the practice field, there's no nerves. They're focusing on molding their craft so that on Sunday, they are just banging it out. Well, we're Thursday night practice session. That's what we're not your audience. We're not that typical presentation audience. We are your team. We're here to support you and help you. Likewise, you're going to be supporting and helping us. So don't let that part, don't look at us in that typical audience way. We are your friends. We are a team. You're just talking with friends. Okay? The third part, and I think this is the most important part when it comes to giving a presentation. It's passion. I can give you all kinds of things about what people remember from presentations and all that. But when you deliver the presentation with passion, that's what comes through. It doesn't matter how controversial the subject or how mundane the subject. If it's a 50-minute presentation or a 5-minute presentation. And deliver whatever you're talking about. I don't care if it's mothballs. Deliver it with passion. And that's what will help you connect with your audience. And it just makes it go that much better and that much quicker. Okay. Y'all ready?
Ready.
Okay. We don't normally drum roll the speakers, but let's start doing that. No. Okay. Okay. Our first speaker this evening is Connie Riss. Having danced for 29 years, Connie retired and entered the insurance world as an insurance agent in 1994. Having 18 years of experience in personal lines, commercial, life, and financial, Connie loves growing insurance agencies. She established an agency process and procedures in staffing and training and educating and growing her staff. She lives with her daughter and granddaughter, all of whom enjoy their very own dog. Again, all girls too. Everybody welcome Connie Risk in your icebreaker speech.
Ooh. Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and special guest. Thomas Edison once said, there are 3 essentials to achieve anything worthwhile. It's hard work, stick-to-itiveness, and common sense. So I'd like to acquaint you with a little bit of what my whole journey has been, and it's been based on essentially one root. I was only 8 when my family moved to North Carolina. That was 14 houses that I lived in, 5 states, but who was counting? Mom was great. She was great about making sure that I had a dance school no matter where we moved for continuity. I was given an opportunity to go to kindergarten or dance. Well, I was a ballerina because my first cousin inspired me. She was a beautifully talented dancer, and so I was a ballerina too, until I hit 14. And I was 5'9", and I weighed 89 pounds. Kids are cruel. Kids are very cruel. They used to say, Connie, turn sideways where we can't see you. Yay, look how skinny you are, you look skinny. So I went down, the dancers are here. And I went down and down. And it's during that time frame, Mom was in and out of hospitals. My brother was 12, had a 2-year-old, 4-year-old little sisters, and Dad relied on me. And I am at my lowest, but I had to rise above and help my family. And even dance was betraying me at that time. My body did not like dancing anymore. It was hard. Everything I did, I was klutzy. I started laughing because I had 2 left feet. And my teacher said, Connie, you cannot dance. You're not a ballerina anymore. You're too tall. And I went, I'm not too tall. I can be a ballerina. I knew Cynthia Gregory was 5'8". I was not too tall. They said, Connie, you cry every day. This is not your world. And I screamed, I am a ballerina, and I am not quitting. And it was about 2 or 3 months later, Hope arrived at my front door. 4 little girls from my neighborhood said, Connie, can you come and teach us a few steps? Because our mamas won't let us take dancing. And will you teach us? And it was so exciting because these little girls wanted me to teach them. So we would go out on the carport slab and I would show them some dance steps, which led to another week. They would come to the house and we started. By September, I had 11 dance students and I was in the 9th grade. Still scared to death of my shadow, I have to let you know that. Still very, very scared. But these little girls gave me this hope that I felt that my life one day was going to be in teaching, mentoring, and coaching. I knew that. And here walks in study hall the commander of our high school. He was someone most people feared. He was the English Lit drama coach, and his presence was very commanding. So he pulls me out of study hall and he says, why are you not in theater? Remember I told you how I was scared of my own shadow? Yeah, I was scared. My knees were knocking and I started stuttering and dropped my head. I couldn't look him in the eyes and I said, I can't even get into the drama club. I'm blackballed. And he says, well, that's been taken care of. I will fix that. What are you doing after school? And I said, well, I teach dancing. He said, you're a dancer? I need a choreographer. Let's work this summer. Let's see how we work together. Started 6 years of a fabulous relationship of a mentor who molded me like clay. He took me from this scared little kid who would never have the gumption to look at anyone in the eyes and said, okay, you can do this because I believe in you. And he was hard. He was really hard on me, but that's okay. By the time I was a sophomore at University of North Carolina in Greensboro, my ballet coach said, what are you doing for spring break? I said, going to Lauderdale. What do you mean? And so he said, no. He said, you're going to New York City. He said, I've arranged for you to have an audition with the Draw Free Ballet. And I went, yeah, like, right. Guys, what would have happened at 14 if I'd listened to my teachers who told me to quit because I was not comfortable with my new body? What would have happened? So, because of my roots, my mission in life is to help people who are hard workers, who are scared. I don't know about you, but I have a twin within that is constantly telling me what I can't do. Oh, are you kidding? Are you too stupid? You're too tall. You're too this. You're too that. I love to work with people like that because our belief system is not always correct. So that's why I returned to Toastmasters after 8 years. I started feeling scared again. Started noticing a couple of times I'll start stuttering. And I needed to be back into a venue that will help me be strong and get focused where I can start my next venture. So I believe that we are in charge of giving back to all of those people who are in need in honor of those people who have mentored us and guided us, like my dear Mr. Perry. Fellow Toastmasters.
Everyone, please take 1 minute and prepare comments for Connie. Well, fellow Toastmasters, it's now time for us all to get acquainted with our second icebreaker speaker. It's time for me to get acquainted with his last name. Our second icebreaker speaker this evening is Suman Patroni. Yay! Suman is a first-generation immigrant from Hyderabad, India. I haven't heard about Hyderabad. He has a technical background in the software industry and he's promoted to a product manager, head of offshore operations since mid-2011. His new job requires him to speak in front of groups of people, and he's joining Toastmasters to improve those skills. Well, everyone, please welcome to the lectern, Suman Patroni.
Mr. Toastmaster, dear members, and welcome guests. Who in this room do you think takes the longest to write their name, like you rightly said? I think that will be me. My last name is 17 letters long. It always proves to be a point of conversation with whoever I meet, whether it's someone at the bar or someone at work. People often ask me, is that a common name in India? Well, it actually isn't. In fact, if I call some of the customer service here and the calls are redirected to India, I have a really tough time explaining them my name. They get the P's confused with the B's and then the D's. So, today I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 things about me. My background, a little bit about my wife, and something called intercaste marriages, as well as my professional life and then my hobbies. Let me start with my background. My dad was also in the software industry for almost 35 years, and I think it's his 36th year now. My mom has been a banker for more than that back in India. They both live in Australia right now for a 2-year stint. I'm the only child, and I'm the youngest among all my cousins in my dad's side. I have been pampered to the core. Which brings me, I came to the US in 2004 to do my master's in UNCC. This was the first time that I was living away from home, away from my parents, and I had to do all the chores myself. What did I do in master's? I learned a lot of things. What did I learn? To do my own laundry, to clean my room, to clean my car. That's when I miss my mom the most. There's something about doing your own chores on a daily basis that really humbles the most aggressive of us. And it's been a great experience. Back to my master's. I graduated with straight A's, luckily. And best thing about my master's is I met my girl, who I later married, the best girl of my life. Let me turn the PowerPoint presentation I made about myself. Well, my wife and I, we went to the same undergrad school back in India. Back in the day, I always thought that she was out of my league. There would be an occasional smile from a distance, a wave of the hand, and that's about it. I never had the courage to go and talk to her. Luckily, fate had it that she had to quit her awesome job at Microsoft back in India, straight out of school, and then she had to come to UNCC after that. We soon fell in love, and rest is history. Which brings me to my marriage. Most of you must have heard about arranged marriages in India. I don't think many of you would have heard about inter-caste marriages. Caste is nothing but a subsect within a religion. And it's not common practice to marry somebody out of your caste. So here I was a few years back in my life with thousands of years of Indian marriage, socially acceptable and culturally acceptable marriage practices were my direct enemy. I had to fight against all that. I had to convince my parents as well as my extended family. It's quite common to have a large family in India. So convince them that this is the girl I wanted to marry, and then eventually, after 3 years of conviction from my side and commitment, that they finally agreed and approved of our marriage. Luckily, it all turned out to be very good, and my mom talks to my wife more than she does to me now, so that's a good thing. This brings me to my professional life and hobbies. Straight out of school from UNCC, I joined a professional software company. Here we are actually located in Ballantyne Corporate Park, so it's very close from here. I've stayed there since then. I have grown from being a developer to a project manager to a product manager, and now actually I've been lucky to get the position of handling an entire offshore team as well as the team over here. So as part of that job, it requires me even more to talk in front of people. Luckily, I didn't have to talk to people outside the organization yet, so it's mostly people who I already know. But I have to prepare myself to do that going forward as well, and that's why I'm here in Toastmasters. That's about my professional life. But a little bit about my hobbies. I love traveling. I've been lucky there as well. I've gone to Bali, Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia. Recently, about 2 months back, I was in Australia and New Zealand for my first anniversary. It was a 1.5 month long trip where it was simply mind-blowing. So I've been lucky there as well. I recently got into mobile application development as well. I built a small game on a device which just got released last month. We are hoping to make new games like that, and that's my new hobby now. A couple of other hobbies would be photography and remote control cars, RC cars as they call it, like high speed ones. They go at like 70 miles an hour. If none of you have ever seen that or tried that, just try it once and you'll be hooked. No matter what's your age, it brings out the child in you. The last thing which I consider as a hobby is dabbling with stocks and investments, which shouldn't be the case going forward. I shouldn't consider that to be a hobby. I just got lucky since 2009 is when I started. The market was good, so I got lucky. And going forward, I think I have to be more serious about that. Finally, I would like to say that this exercise about preparing about myself and then thinking about this speech made me realize how fair life has been to me so far. And I thank everybody for this opportunity that you've all given me, and I'm really looking forward to get acquainted with you all a little better. Thank you.
Everyone take 1 minute and prepare some comments for Simone. Okay, Toastmasters, it's time for our final icebreaker speech this evening. Giving his icebreaker this evening is Paul Arel. He comes from Kathmandu, Nepal. He's an IT asset manager. He joined Toastmasters to enhance his public speaking skills as a means of networking and growing himself professionally. Everyone, please welcome Paul to the lecture.
Oh wow. He said everything that I was about to say. I don't know what I'm going to say now. Basically because we have the same story almost. And maybe it's mixed with Connie. So thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I'm here to present my actually speech about journey of life. Actually, I was thinking about what I should write. There are so many things, and I knew, since I was friends with Suman, I knew what he's gonna write. He's gonna write about the same thing that I was thinking. So then I thought about, if you remember, Connie, I said my dad, and I didn't know what to write about it. But I knew I'm gonna write something about my dad. And as I was looking back, and the area it really struck me was how his life and my life and the journey of our life has been really similar. Like, when he was young and I was young, and how I came to US from Nepal, and how he came from his hometown to the city. So basically today, that's the speech that I wrote, and that's the speech that I'll be dealt with. So the journey. What is journey? Journey is a process or course likened to traveling. It is a passage. Everyone starts their journey of life at birth. And our journey is full of mysteries and unsolved puzzles. You have all the clues in front of you, but you are the only one who knows how you're going to best solve it and put those pieces together to solve it. In order to solve the puzzle, you have to walk through the journey of your life. Your journey might be trickier, and you might stumble from time to time. But it's up to you how you would best solve it. Well, I'm the youngest amongst all my family. And actually with that, I have lots of burden. And you can say, like Suman said, I'm spoiled too. Which I get that a lot every time when you are the youngest. So with the burden is to prove myself. It's also because I'm not only the youngest, I'm the only son. And I have 3 sisters. So in our culture, the boy is the patriarch of the family in future. So I have to look up to my elders and learn the tradition when I'm kid up to, so that I can carry my family name forward in the future. So my journey until today and to US started actually, I think, even before I was born. When my dad was about 15 years old, and he used to always tell me this story, that he decided to move to the city from his hometown. His hometown is about 40 miles in terms of US miles, but in Nepal, it's probably 400 miles because you have terrains, you have mountains. And when he was 15 years, there was no roads, there was no buses. So actually he had to walk almost 3 days, so about 40 miles of terrains, mountains, and then through the jungles. And at that time, there was no deforestation, so there were a lot of trees. And also in Nepal, you have actually lots of wild animals. So like but when he was moving from his hometown to the city, he didn't go alone. There used to be the travelers. And so basically, so it took him 3 days, 40 miles, and he had to even look for the wild animals like tigers. And my friend was saying, hey, why didn't we add monkeys too? And I said, okay, I'm going to say about monkey as well. So he came, he did come from a family of really, he was well off, but what he wanted to do was not be in his place, but he wanted to go to the city and further his education. So that's what he did. And I always joke with him saying, hey, you could have married 5 wives if you had, because that's common in the countryside. That's just a joke. And then what I think is his journey to the city from the countryside was the beginning of my journey to the city and ultimately to the US. Otherwise, like I said, I would have ended up there and had probably 10 kids by now because, it's very common to get married at 14, 15 years old. So with that, as I solved one puzzle after another in my journey of life, I'm faced with one another, biggest and hardest of all. Can you guys imagine? Or can you guys think what it is? It's a Toastmaster. But I'm determined as ever to solve it and prove myself and to everybody, to the fellow Toastmasters. And thanks to my friend Shuman, who introduced me to this class, and to everybody who actually, provide very good information. And you guys are very generous with your ardent and supportive comment as ever. Thank you.
Everyone take 1 minute and prepare comments for Paul. Sorry. Hey, fellow Valentine Toastmasters, it's that special time of the meeting. Extemporaneous speaking, table topics. Unfortunately, our table topic presenter didn't make it this evening. I was kind of hoping he'd come in late. I also wanted to do something a little different with table topics, so I was hoping I'd have a little bit of time to talk with him about it. Again, this night is so much about icebreakers. That first speech we all make in Toastmasters. I'd like to center the table topics around that idea. So anyway, I'll just go ahead and be the table topics masters if nobody minds, unless anybody wants to do it. I'll go ahead? Okay. Well, the icebreaker is all about getting up here for the lectern for the first time. Now, we have a couple Toastmasters here this evening that are relatively early in their Toastmasters experience. Well, Louise, I know you told us about your first icebreaker and your second icebreaker with us. Ben, you gave your icebreaker not too long ago. We got a couple guests here that we hope will join in making their icebreaker. I'll tell you what, quick synopsis. And with hindsight, Ben, what was your icebreaker like?
What was my icebreaker like now looking back several months? Train wreck comes to mind. Especially when I heard the count. That was so lovely to hear. Hopefully I'll get better with that. The hardest part about the icebreaker speech for me was simply writing it. Not so much delivering it, but actually figuring out what I wanted to say. I am normally not the most open of people. I rather listen than talk about listen to other people's stories about themselves rather than go on about myself. So writing any sort of personal details, I just hate. There we go again. So the hardest thing looking back was writing it and still having that trouble with other speeches. Rather plagiarize, maybe do Lincoln's Gettysburg Address rather than just write.
Well, everybody joins Toastmasters usually after visiting as a guest and seeing speakers. Sometimes you see somebody in the middle of that competent communicator manual. Sometimes you see an advanced speech. It's rare that you get to see 3 icebreakers in a single night. Now, normally we don't pick on guests too much, but since you're a returning guest, I kind of make yourself a target.
Feel free.
Deborah, what did you think about seeing these icebreakers?
It was fascinating.
You gotta come up here.
I gotta do it.
Yeah.
It was fabulous. I really enjoyed learning about each of you. I'm learning that everybody has such a great story, and it's really interesting to find everybody's story as you inquire and ask questions. And I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to cram my 29 years into a 4 to 6 minute speech. It's
Now, Chris, I didn't get to meet you at your first meeting, but this is your returning meeting. Again, I'm going to make it a softball for you. What did you think of these icebreaker speeches?
Oh, thank you all. I definitely really enjoyed all of your icebreaker speeches. I got to learn a little bit about each of you. I really felt you were all extremely passionate about your lives, which was great. It was such a great experience for me just to see it and experience it through your eyes. And I enjoyed all of them. And starting to think in my mind about mine, and you know, certainly it's going to probably focus on my life and my background, and certainly why I'm here too. So, but I just want to thank you all for your support, and looking forward to future speeches.
Are our evaluators ready? Ready. Okay. So we're going to start the evaluation phase of our meeting. And leading our evaluations this evening is our newest advanced speaker, Russ Davis.
Thank you very much, Mr. Toastmaster. Thank you all for coming tonight, and thank you very much for 3 great speeches. Holy cow. We've seen a lot of different speeches over the years, and it was really, really inspirational and moving, and thank you all for sharing. Part of our process is growing as an individual, growing as a team, and as Frank said, it's kind of like team. It's kind of like practice. You know, we're not going to get fired for this. Nobody's going to tell your mom. You're not going to have to do other people's laundry for a change. It's just practice and it's personal improvement. And part of the key process is having our evaluations. Our evaluators are positive, reinforcing, and coaching, and everything is always very forward-facing. Tonight we're honored to have 3 really strong evaluators, and I'll have the pleasure of introducing Jose Gestaldi to give evaluation for our speaker number 1, Connie Riss.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guest, and most special Connie for her icebreaker. All right. I don't know what you think, but Connie is such a great speaker. It was such a good speech. I know that Connie has had some experience before, but I was thinking, oh, she's a little bit out of shape. Is the icebreaker? Let's cut her some slack. What are we talking about? Connie is such a good speaker. Let me just point out some of the things that I really like about her speech. I always consider that what we say in the first 30 seconds is key to hook everybody in the room. Even if it's people like us who have nothing else to do for the next hour. Still, we want to hook everybody to see what's coming up next. And I think a great thing to do that is either with a question or with a quote to see where the speech is going. And that's what Connie did. She started with a quote with Thomas Edison. And at the beginning, yeah, the quote was, I would say, a little, I think I've heard it before. It wasn't nothing out of the ordinary. But as the speech started to develop, I fully understood the 3 points in the quote: hard work, perseverance, and common sense. We learn from Connie not what her favorite color is or what she does on weekends, but we heard a speech that comes from the heart, something that is very personal to her. Her dancing years, the struggles that she went to, and how those struggles shaped her life. And what I really get out of the speech, among many other things, is that what we could perceive as obstacles in our life are nothing more than opportunities. In the particular case of Connie, the struggles that she went through while she was dancing, she persevered, she showed her passion, and as long as we follow what our heart tells us, we're just gonna keep moving forward, and people are gonna notice that, which is what happened with the drama professor, let's call it. I know it's a different name. But it really taught me that as long as you follow your passion, follow your heart, you're gonna get far. And it brought something that I've always thought about Toastmasters, and is that, Toastmaster, more than a destination, is a journey. You just come here and say, oh, I'm good at speaking in public, see you all later. But it's something that as we get better, we help others get better. And I believe that this is a great place for Connie's over passion, which is helping those who are really good, but who are a little bit scared. And I identify with what you said with the other twin that we have, the shy twin, which is, I also have one of those. And it was such an inspiring speech, and I'm looking forward to learning more from you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jose. And for our second speaker tonight, we have Phil Neufeld giving you some feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Russ. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. Man, impressed, weren't you? We all feel good about it. I love it. Welcome new members. Your feet are wet now. It's no holds barred. No, but you did great, all of you, and I appreciate that. Suman in particular, it is our privilege to acquaint ourselves with you this evening. You did great. When we write speeches, we think about how we're going to structure it, what's the content going to be. You gave us an opening. You told us what you're going to tell us about. I think you gave us 4 different areas that you were going to cover. Just let us know what you were going to be about. And then you gave details on those areas from your background in IT to the caste marriage and all. So intriguing. Love to learn these sort of things that maybe we didn't know about before. So it really is our privilege. And within that structure, what I really enjoyed was you got a sense of humor. You threw a couple of little comments in there that just really livened it up, and that was neat. So I appreciate that. Already a skill that I notice you really have is you make great eye contact. You vary it across the audience. Keep that up. That's great. I mean, that's a strong point for you. Very good. Back to the content. I like the way you wrapped it up. I was wondering where you were going to go with wrapping it up, and you tied it in a neat little bow at the end to leave us thinking about who you were. Your pace maybe was a little fast. It often is for icebreakers because we want to get through it. We want to make sure we cover all our material. We go through it, lickety split. We're driving about 80 miles an hour. But it wasn't hard to understand. So that's not a critique in the sense that I would advise you that in future speeches, think about how you could throw in a pause now and then for effect. Give yourself a chance to kind of regroup and know where you want to head again, maybe how you want to phrase the next sentence. Just add on a pause now and then. And one other item. Learn to practice varied hand gestures. I noticed you really love this. Now, figure out how to use that, but maybe change it around. I don't know how you want to change it around, but vary it a little bit because pretty soon I was waiting for the next hand gesture. And those are the habits we develop that we want to learn to give more variety. But I loved it. I can't wait to work with you as we go forward here. And thanks again for letting us get to know you.
Thank you, Phil. Very, very inspirational, very informative, a lot of great feedback. Phil, being a very tenured Toastmaster, has given you, I think, a lot of good tips that really go a long ways, and that usually we don't see that kind of level of speech that you gave and level of feedback. It's awesome. So far, we've had some great speeches today. And I know Rick Morrison is going to give some great information and evaluation for Bhupal.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, Bhupal. I think you had the toughest role because you were speaker number 3. And probably after hearing a couple icebreakers before that, a little bit nervous. But you came up here and sort of engaged the audience by saying, I've got the same speech as Suman. We have the exact identical speech. It was very relaxing and very engaging. I like the way you organized it. You had the idea about the journey of life and the mysteries and the puzzles and how you solve them. But then you came back to it. Your organization allowed you to come back to that at the end and say that it's not just a stagnant process, that every day is a new mystery. We don't know what we're going to encounter when we get up in the morning. And I really like the organization. The objectives for an icebreaker are to begin speaking in front of an audience, get that nervousness out, practice getting up there so that each time you do it, less nervous, more confident. And I like the way that you had good inflection in what you were saying, but at times, particularly, the body of the speech, sometimes a little bit even keel on the pitch and the pace. And as Phil has said, a great technique is to learn to pause and also learn to vary the speed of your delivery to match what's in your speech content. I really enjoy hearing you speak. You make great eye contact. You're direct. And again, interspersed, you had good pieces of humor that always lighten the audience's mood and allows them to hear you better. Look forward to hearing your next speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rick. And wow, as a general evaluator, what an honor for me to introduce those three evaluators. Very tenured group, very experienced group, very seasoned group. And I got to say, for an icebreaker speech for the three of you, usually when we have an evaluation we go through speech number 1, speech number 2, all the way through the beginning and end of the Competent Communicator Manual, as Rick mentioned, we state the objectives of each speech. We state what we're trying to accomplish, what we're trying to work on, what we're trying to improve. And as Rick stated for the icebreaker speech number 1 here today, the threshold was really to get up and to talk. And these three evaluators thought so much of every one of your speeches that they went ahead and gave you a 10th grade evaluation instead of a 1st grade evaluation. And I want to applaud the three of you, and I want to applaud the evaluators. So, great job for everyone. At this point in our process, I'd like to call for the grammarian's report. Mr. Grammarian.
Fellow Toastmasters, it's been my pleasure to be the grammarian today. I want to highlight a few good phrases that I really liked and talk about our ahs and our word of the days and some other words that we had. So, great phrases tonight. Connie, I loved the twin within. That was just a good visualization for me, and I guess the rhyminess of it also works out pretty well. It's easy to remember. And Suman, pampered. Oh man, my handwriting to the core. That's it. Gosh, my handwriting is horrible. Sorry, small notes. Pampered to the core was good. I also happen to be the youngest in my family, including my cousins. So I could relate to both of your speeches, yours as well, Bhupal, so that was good. Ahs. We did okay in ahs. We had some people that didn't do any ahs, but they also didn't use the word of the day. So, got you there on that. So, we had, I think our low count was 0, our high count was 6 on the ahs. We have a few favorite words. There were a number of you-knows tonight. That seems to be our most popular word, so start thinking about that. To our direct speakers, Connie, I caught a couple Xeroxes for you where I don't know if you had a pause or a challenge, but you doubled up my and that in the speech, if I caught it correctly. The Suman, I think I also caught the I at one point during yours. And Bhupal, you have an affinity for the So I caught a few of those there. So just a few things to look out for. Russ caught himself with his fumble over some words, and other than that, it was great. Word of the day, Frank used it twice, Connie used it once, Suman used it once. I had it 3 times, but I guess I don't count because I created the word of the day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grammarian David. I'd like to call Tree for our timers report today.
Wow, what a great speech. I almost forgot my role for tonight. Couple times. I would love to give this detailed report. For prepared speech, I thought that 3 icebreakers were a synchronized watch. They were within 6 seconds of one another. Connie, you finished your speech at 5 minutes and 56 seconds. You're qualified. Suman, your speech lasts 6 minutes and 2 seconds. You qualified. Bhupal, your speech lasts 5 minutes and 59 seconds. You're qualified. For table topics, Ben, your speech lasts 1 minute and 3 seconds. You're qualified. Deborah, you speak a little too short, 24 seconds. You're disqualified. Last speech by Chris, 34 seconds, you'll qualify. And for the evaluation speech, you'll say your speech lasts 3 minutes and 17 seconds, you'll qualify. Rick, yours at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, you'll qualify. And Phil, yours at 2 minutes and 25 seconds, you'll qualify. Thank you, Ed.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Timer. Now that we have the qualified and unqualified for the people in the front of the row, we can take our voting session now. We put our pens to papers and vote for best speaker, best evaluator, and best table topics. Take a minute to do that. Okay, as we're all getting our votes together, I'd like to take a minute to talk about our general evaluation. Once again, really appreciate that everyone showed up together and on time today. It's a great club. We're really hitting a lot of momentum, a lot of great strides. We've got some great members that are bringing a lot of new things to the table. I'd like to thank Frank for getting in early and setting up the room. We have our banner and our plaques up and displayed proudly where they should be. Frank has done this again, the service of providing all of this online for our future self-education, because there's things that we all do that we think we do that we don't do. So it's very nice to see that. And I've learned from each of you tonight, there's 3 great inspirational speeches and 3 great evaluations. One of the things that I picked up that's going to be my action item, I'm getting acquainted with my body language. I maybe diversify my hand skills a little bit. We learned last week from Jose about coming up from the heart, coming up this way. So every week there's something more that we learn together as a team, as a group, you know, building. I'm really glad to be here, and I'm really proud of all of you. So I think we had a great meeting. I think we all demonstrated some growth, and I'd like to put a hand together and thank everyone. Without any further ado, I think I want to see if we've left our ballot counter. Enough time.
I got a little to say.
Okay, well, let's take a moment and then I can introduce Frank. Did you say there's something to that? Frank Bremer.
Hello, Toastmasters and guests. I'll never forget my icebreaker speech. I sat over here, had a glass of water. Glass, not a bottle. Mental note, make sure if you have any nerves, use a bottle. I came over here to get the water. I got up to the lectern, but I realized I forgot my water. I came back to get the water. As I was returning to the lectern, I was trying to take a drink. It was shaking so bad, I could not get it to my lips. I was afraid I was going to splash it all over me. I got up here and I got the first few sentences out, and the stress just dropped dramatically. And that's part of what led me to learn about these tips about breathing, about understanding your audience. Not just know your audience for the content of the presentation, but know your relationship with the audience. That's very key to forming that bond. And it was also the part about the passion. Because when you're up here and you doubt your message, you're not sure about what you're saying or who you're saying it to, well, that's going to come out. Now, I don't care if your passion is pet rocks. Sell those rocks. I mean, just let people know how much you love them. And if even if they don't buy into the rock, they're going to buy into your passion. And that's going to make you attractive. That's going to make your message attractive. That's going to make them want to listen to you and be a part of what you're doing. You can't miss. People love passion. So that's what I want to share with you, with all Toastmasters, with our guests. Please join us. Please get this journey started. It is one of the best things any of us can do, personally or professionally. Icebreakers, great job, great start. Thank you for joining us. I'd like all of our icebreaker speakers to come on up here. We have a special award. This is one of the most important awards as Toastmasters we can give out. It's the Icebreaker Award. Thank you. Okay? You may win every speech or presentation you do in here and as you go forward in your Toastmasters career. You may be the best topic speaker we've ever seen and get paper your wall with these ribbons. But this is a unique one. This is the one that starts the journey. And I hope you will cherish this one. I know it's a little ribbon, but put it in that special memory place because this will just let you know that first step of that very long journey that's going to change your lives. So thank you.
Thank you.
My fellow Toastmaster, Rick, wants to award another member. I don't even know exactly who or for what, but it's apparently a big deal. So I want to go ahead and give him the lectern and let him deliver this award.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, for allowing me to do this. Some of you were probably here. We didn't have a big turnout that night, but we had a couple of VIP guests that night. We had our district governor, Brian Walsh, and we had our regional advisor, Jim Herron. Very special guest. And I am remiss because Brian acknowledged myself as the district audit committee chair for District 37 this Toastmasters year. And I am remiss because one of our fellow club members was recruited by me to help with the audit review last month at the last minute. He said, sure, I can be there tomorrow and do this. So when I was up at the district executive council meeting earlier this month, Brian reminded me that indeed I did have fellow committee members with me, and to make sure that they were acknowledged and to come forward, Ben Rosenthal, and be acknowledged and make sure he gets he's part of the team. And on the shirt it says, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And that's a quote from one of our most notorious Toastmasters, Jay Nodine, who unfortunately passed away recently, but very, very, very funny guy when he'd get up in the speaking area, and was a state champion for humorous speeches several times. But he was that if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. So Ben, please accept this t-shirt as a member of the district team.
Finally.
And I am remiss for not acknowledging you when Brian acknowledged me. Thanks again.
Okay, fellow Toastmasters, it's time for our awards. Let's start the awards with our best table topic speakers. I get a drum roll, please. Best table topic speaker this evening is Chris. Our best evaluator this evening, I know that's got to be a difficult choice on everyone. 3 great icebreaker speeches. But the crowd favorite, Bonnie. Fellow Toastmasters, again, this is a nice celebration. And we have pizza and sodas and drinks, and we hope everybody will stay for a few minutes, network, join with one another in this great evening. That concludes our meeting this evening. Again, our area contest is next week, and Louise will be our Toastmaster on April 12th.
Do you want to know what the subject is?
The theme? Sure.
It's poetry, just like I emailed.
Okay, I'm sorry, I did not get the email. But the theme for our April 12th meeting is poetry. So everybody come and be a poet on April 12th. Thank you. Thank you. Did so well.
This was the first time
Delights the
I've seen us on the whole meeting. That's okay. No, it's nice to see how it feels. I wasn't quite sure what I was supposed to do. I didn't want to give my whole life story up front. I gotta wait for the life story.
My notes that when you get your manual, just give it to me and I'll transpose them onto the evaluation worksheet that's in the book. And that way you get credit for it, for the education and what we read, so check it off on the grid. So I'll keep that. I keep all of my agendas with notes and everything here. And so when you get your book, just let me have it. During the meeting, it'll take that few minutes. You did a great job. Thanks. Good. Yeah, you've got some great skills already. And I feel that you're confident enough. You probably have a little bit. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, your word. I don't know. You can sit down. I was going to write that in the speech. They don't even have any classes where they concentrate on public speaking. Even in UNCC, it's all about technical stuff. There's no opportunity where you go up to the stage and talk. So I have absolutely zero training in that as a state. That's why I'm facing that right now. So, what I love about the manual when you get it is you've got 10 different speeches and it gives you 10 different ways to construct and deliver a speech. You can pick the subject or mental or whatever. But by the end of 10 speeches, you're so well versed. So, and if I can be of any help along the way when you're preparing it and you want, I was going to send that to you, but then I finished the whole thing. We always tend to be that way. But if I can ever be of any help, I'll give you a card here. Feel free to give me a call. It's my wireless phone. If I don't answer right away, I'll get back to you. But yeah, I'm looking forward to watching your growth and progress. I was going to write, I don't know how much you write about me, how much you write about the drawbacks, I don't know what you write. I just find it, I had to speed it up because yesterday I practiced once in front of my phone. I recorded it for 7 minutes and I was only the third page. I just cut it short. You have to figure out what you're doing. It's better that way though, at least you have fun material. Well, good. Good for you. Keep on going, man. Yes, sir.
That changes the entire consequence of, if you're here and positive, what happens, what are the consequences of this? If you say, oh my gosh, I can't do this, the consequences are completely unforeseen. And that one little B is what changes that road. And the road, what you've got right here internally is changing which road you're taking. It's that
one-on-one.
Unless you
You say that the ruling
But it could be
on
to be it's part of
why?
They say what I'm looking at is very they put a key in the Harper environment.
No, I think you should start
They believe and I just go away loving them and they don't score me. My children are very but if I put them in the public school environment where it's actually in
Oh, yeah.
then it's good for the huge.
I
Now, when I go for religious or faith-based reasons, we'll realize that as a person, experience what's going on. My wife used to teach Charlotte Country, which is a it's actually nothing else. That's why I go down the road and you see 90% of the cars on the road have fish on the back of them. I'm like, yeah.
Why are you not listening?
I was able to drive your eye contact and personalization is very key. You develop a good relationship with the
I got constantly like 46
Just a day.
Talk show. One of
At the height of this.
Bilingual in Spanish, so it's in Central America instead.
Figure out what it is.